The Carolina Hurricanes had their first shootout of the season and came away with the win on Halloween against their Metro Division rival, Washington Capitals. Find out how that game went down, as well as hear from Freddie Andersen, Stefan Noesen, and Rod Brind'Amour, all in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Host Jared Ellis, and you are listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. As always, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes and myself on Twitter at Jared Ellis _96. I still have the check mark as of recording, but that's a conversation for a different day, folks. But we're all here to talk about the Carolina Hurricanes and that game against the Washington Capitals. This was a heck of a game. I said going into this game that it was going to be very tough and very physical, and that's exactly what we got, and also a lot of penalties, and that is exactly what we got in this game. I also said Stefan Noesen would get his first goal as a Hurricane, and that is exactly what he did. He opened up the scoring for the Hurricanes on the power play. I said that was another thing I said. We needed the power play to show up in this game, and thankfully it did. Both teams ended up going, I believe, 1 for 6 on the power play, but yeah, 1 for 6 on the power play. Excuse me. The Hurricanes went 1 for 6 on the power play and 3 for 4 on the penalty kill. Excuse me. I got the one because of Washington scoring on one of their power play opportunities. But the power play, yeah, you had the one goal here in this game, which is great, obviously. It being such an issue for the Hurricanes this season so far, but they've only gone 6 of 35 on the season so far, and that's not very good. If I remember correctly, it was like 17 point something percent. So yeah, not good. I mean, you're obviously not going to be 100% or anything like that on the power play, but the Hurricanes got a lot of improvement to do in that regard. But I think this was a good building block, I would say. But we still got to get to the next game. But this was a very tough, very physical game. That's something we knew, and I'm not surprised that it went to shootout. Back-to-back games with having to have more than 60 minutes to decide the game, and yeah, I'm not surprised in the slightest that this went to shootout. Marty Necas and extended his point streak to 4 games. He had 2 assists in that game against the Capitals. As I mentioned, Stefan Noesen opened up the scoring for the Hurricanes. He was also the first star of the game, and I'm really glad he was finally able to get that first goal as a Hurricane. He's coming off a monster AHL season, 85 points, 48 goals, 37 assists in 70 AHL games last season. So he was overdue for something rather than just an assist. And for him to get it on the power play when the power play has been struggling so much as of late, I love it. I absolutely love it. And of course, it's Locked On Hurricanes after dark, folks. Life happens sometimes. You got to go into work early. So, we're getting with it though. But Andrei Svechnikov, he continues to be absolutely forced for this team this season. He scored the game tying goal, which he's now at 8 goals on the season. He's tied for second in the NHL. Whenever I was taking the notes earlier this afternoon, that may have changed by now, but he is also 7 for 13 in shootout deciding goals. And or 7 for 13 in shootouts. And again, he got the deciding goal, and that was his fifth career shootout deciding goal. And now he trails only UC Jokinen with 10 and Matt Cullen with 8 for most Canes shootout goals, which is insane considering just how young Andre is. And he's already signed that super long term extension. He's going to be here until the late 2020s. And also with that game deciding goal, that put him past Eric Stahl and Sergei Samsonov, both with 4 apiece. And he now has the most game deciding goals in a shootout in Hurricanes history. So congratulations to Andre. Yeah, I think that is crazy. Yeah, just to see not only Andre, but names like Sebastian Aho, Marty Necas, Jacob Slavin. These guys that are putting up records. Whether it be in shootouts, games played, points, whatever. It's crazy to see their names just climb up. These ranks so quickly when they're so young. Again, Andre's already passed Eric, in this. This is Andre's record now, and you figure it's probably going to keep going at this rate, and it's crazy to think about. And I'm here for it, and it it's crazy to think about, Yeah, it just because Andre is so young, Sebastian is so young, not you. My dog Sebastian looked at me when I said that. But yeah, I'm here for it. I keep saying that, but it just makes you feel good inside as a fan whenever you see stuff like this happening and these guys with such long careers ahead of him. It's not like, obviously no offense to Jordan Stahl, but he's got probably towards the tail end of his career at this point. Say he hits that record, okay, that's obviously awesome, but a guy like Andre or Sebastian or Jacob Slade, these records that they're setting, they're going to continue to build onto those and make that even harder for the next guy to achieve, which is great. But back to the game, Brent Burns also extended his point streak to four games. He also scored in the shootout. It was him and Andre that scored. Brent Burns is now 11 for 34 on his career in shootouts. And as I mentioned, I think, this game, it was how we expected it was going to go, but it still wasn't perfect. Hurricanes, there was that one embellishment call that I think I wasn't a fan of, but the Hurricanes, they need to work on penalties, and that's something that I've been saying already this season, but this game, it was really evident, and I feel that the Hurricanes are lucky that they have such a good penalty killing unit. Yeah, it's not to the standard it was last year yet. I think that will come later in the season, just as time goes on. But that's going to be something that the Hurricanes really, I think, need to buckle down on this year. Clean up their game. I said it last year. I said it the season before. Taking too many dumb penalties obviously is going to happen. I know that, but the dumb stuff, like reel it in, and clean it up. I think that's going to be really big this year for them to do that. But ultimately the Hurricanes overall played, I think a pretty good game. They played really hard and really tough. But one thing that I was starting to pick up on, and I noticed some other people, commenting on it as well, was Freddie Andersen seeming a bit off. And that's something that I've kind of noticed, a lot, this season. He's obviously done Freddie things, of course, but it seems like he's off, if that makes sense, guys. It feels like something just isn't clicking as good as it was last season. Obviously, he's coming off of that MCL tear that he had last season in Denver, which put him out for the remainder of the regular season, playoffs, all of it. So I think that Freddie is he's going to be fine. First off, and we'll hear from him in a second. But uh, it just seems like something is off this season. I feel like again, it's gonna. I think it's just early season type stuff, and then he's coming off of a knee injury. I don't think it's anything to worry about, but I really noticed it in this game. Where, yeah, he said it as well. Is that he was kind of struggling to get in. It was kind of hard to get into a rhythm with this game because he wasn't facing as many shots. I think he only faced like 20. I think, but yeah, I really hope that, Freddie can get it clicking here soon. We're not even a month into the season, so first off, do keep that in mind, folks, while I'm saying this. But and I think he's gonna be fine, but it's just kind of something I'm noticing. And it feels like, yeah, something's off. He's kind of almost in a funk. I mean, it's gonna happen to players, goalies, forwards, defensemen. It's gonna happen to everyone. I'd rather it happen here now at the beginning of the season than later on towards the end of the season in the playoffs. So, yeah, just like all the adversity this team is facing when struggling to get things going, I'd rather it happen now than later. But now let's hear from the man himself, Freddie Andersen.
Good.
Shootouts are kind of a different animal, but first of the year, you'd be pretty happy with how that went.
Yeah, of course, it's a little bit of a flip of a coin, but yeah, we're happy to get the 2 points. So, yeah, we're all don't really care how they come, but just stick with it and get the win.
It's a weird game, just with all the penalties. But it's a 4-on-4.
Yeah.
Lots of man advantages. Did that make it tough for you and to kind of get into a rhythm?
Maybe a little bit. I think we had to talk a lot. I think that made it more tough for me. They didn't really fire a lot of easy ones. They were battling for their chances, but obviously we got some on their power plays and yeah. But I think for the rhythm, it's probably more tougher on the players. Just they got to sit for a little bit longer, some of them, and be out there a little bit on different lines and stuff like that. So again, it's not something you can control, so you just got to deal with it.
Do you like the challenge of shootouts?
Yeah, I mean, I like when we win, so it makes it more fun. Obviously, it's not the most fun feeling when we don't get the win. So I don't know. I think I've talked about this before. I think the 3-on-3 is really exciting, and I think is a better product. But again, like I said, I don't care how we win. We just want to win.
Is anybody taking a slower shootout shot?
That might have been the slowest on me for sure. I think that was tough one. He's a good player, good hands, and definitely got to respect that he could have faked that. But yeah, he made a nice move and got a quick shot off with good reach. So that's off to him. But the guys came through and got some goals back.
What about facing coming in nice?
Yeah, I mean he's one of the better goal scorers all time right now. So I mean, we just got to try to play it the same way and try to be patient and.
So, in listening with Freddie again, it's echoing like a lot of stuff I've already said, and shootouts, are always a heck of something to deal with. But at the end of the day, all we can do is, put this game behind us, and that's what we're going to do and move on to the next one. And we will continue to hear from Stefan Noesen and Rod Brind'Amour right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, it is, of course, that time of the year. Football season is here, and now it is time to be placing your bets on the games, whether it's Carolina Panthers, New England Patriots, whether it's NC State. BetOnline, of course, is the place to do it. BetOnline is your number one source for all of your betting info this season, whether it's for football, basketball, hockey, baseball. World Series is going on right now, so BetOnline is, of course, the place to do it. So find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all of your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. It is, of course, the fastest and easiest way to check up on all of your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, golf, wrestling, hockey, whatever. BetOnline has you covered. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, folks, like I said, it is also time to hear from the first star of the game, Stefan Noesen. I was really happy whenever he was able to get that first goal as a Hurricane. Again, obviously, I predicted it in the preview for the game, but that's beside the point. Yeah, he's a guy, like I've been saying, as of late. Him and Brent Burns both, I felt, were guys that were just knocking on the door, ready to just start racking up some goals. And I hope it is a thing of it's not just like a one-time thing, and we don't see another goal from him until like February. I hope that's not the case. We talked about his monster AHL season that he had, and he's a guy that we needed to step up. I said, going into this game that we needed guys to be able to step up and it not just be Andrei Svechnikov and Marty Necas and those guys. We needed everyone to step up to the plate in this game because of how tough and physical it was going to be. And Stefan did absolutely that. And this is what he had to say post game.
Ready?
Sure.
That first we're talking about getting that one, getting that one out of the way, if you would, here. First one for the team.
I think I've kind of been around the net quite a bit. Kind of got some unfortunate breaks, hitting sticks, hitting the goal post, whatever it is. So it's good to get the first one. Hopefully get rolling.
What is it about this team? It's not if you're going to win, it's how and when. How the creative way you're going to do it. I'll never say die on the squad or coming back like that.
I think we're pretty resilient. We kind of play the game the right way, and you kind of see that if we keep getting on teams over and over and over again. Either they're going to make a mistake, they're going to make a penalty, and then we can try to capitalize.
Lots of goals last year, but your first post-pandemic NHL goal, or since the pandemic started, is it kind of surreal to think that it's been a couple of years since you got one at this level?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of nice to score quite a bit last year. It doesn't really feel like that, so hopefully we can just keep plugging away and score some more.
Is that where you played on the power play in Chicago, or were you somewhere else?
Yeah, I was net front, and Jack Drury and I kind of did the same thing, like kind of that Aho and I do, kind of switch back and forth and kind of just read off each other, and I think that's what kind of makes us hard to play against.
How many of your goals last year did you score either on tips or rebounds, kind of on the doorstep?
Just last year, or my whole career? Whole career, kind of feel like that's kind of what it's been. Kind of take pride in that. It's something I work on all the time. I always want tips. I kind of get yelled at for that every now and then, but that's just something that I love doing, and try to make an art of it.
How did last year scoring as much as you did change the way that you came into camp this year? Did it change your attitude, your confidence, or any of that?
No, I just kind of got my touch back. For a couple of years there, it was really hard on me mentally, really hard on my family, really kind of hard on everyone in my life. And, to really get a chance like I did last year and kind of be able to get my game back. Kind of felt like I was struggling with that for quite a while since I was in New Jersey. And, it felt good. I was happy to be in one spot for the whole year instead of kind of bouncing up and down. I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, but just for me personally and my confidence, it's what I needed.
Was there ever a point where you kind of wondered what was going on?
In terms of
the goal, I mean, were you ever going to start scoring again?
No. I think it was just kind of getting comfortable with the situation I was in and kind of feeling the puck. Like I said, I think for a while there it was a lot of chip and chase, not being able to kind of be creative as I need to be, and I think Rod does it right. My game is below the goal line, below the top of circles, and take care of everything, leading up to that, and then you kind of be able to get creative down there, and that's just kind of where I found the most success.
Is that a bit of a relief getting the tip after you had the 3 whacks in front right before then?
Yeah, I think honestly, just seeing a goal go in is always a good thing. But I have my daughter here.
Yeah, so in listening to him, they're talking a lot about getting his scoring touch back, and again, he had a monster year in the AHL last year, and I really do hope that this is the start of something really good for Stefan. I think that, he knows his game. You heard what he had to say, and he likes, how Rod does things. And I think that, you know, it can be really it can be really good for him this year. I think that he's playing in a way that is, you know, like Jalen Chatfield. He's justifying him being here in the NHL rather than him being in the AHL and it being Jack Drury or Ryan Dzingel. And he's justifying it, and I'm here for it. I'm loving it. I think that he's due for, some big games uh, here lately, and I'm glad that, he was able to get this goal, get that first one out of the way. I think that it's going to be the start of many this year. I think, he knows what works for him. Again, we heard him, and I think that he's gonna have a really good year. He's already looking really good. Jalen Chatfield as well. These are guys that are justifying them being in the NHL rather than the AHL, and I think that if he can continue this level of play, he can honestly find himself moving up in the lineup some, or in terms of the lines. I could see, him moving up to the third line. I really could. We'll kind of, especially right now with Andre Kasha still being out, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Stefan Noesen start to move up in the lineup. I think that, when Kasha comes back, it'll be interesting to see how things pan out in terms of who's the odd man out. I feel that, Jordan Martinook, he's looked better, but I don't think he's been as good as Nason. So maybe he's the odd man out. Maybe he gets sent down to the AHL. It wouldn't surprise me. Again, he cleared the waivers. He got assigned to the AHL. Then he got brought back. It wouldn't surprise me, but that's just kind of something we'll have to deal with whenever we deal with it. Kasha's still out. Really haven't heard anything about whether or not he, he will be back. Or not whether or not he'll be back. When he will be back. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it, but concussions are nothing to mess with. Absolutely not. Yeah, that's the thing. Take all the time you need. I don't want anyone to risk permanent brain damage from that. They're bad enough. But we did get to hear from Rod Brind'Amour after the game as well, and we will hear what Rod had to say right after this quick break. All right, folks, we are back, and now it is time to hear what Rod Brind'Amour had to say after that shootout win against the Washington Capitals.
You good?
Roddy, probably still not your A game that you want tonight, but are you satisfied that your guys are?
You're a tough crowd. Tough crowd. Everybody played extremely hard. I thought we played really well. We had a couple second period there. The first 10 minutes wasn't great, but we killed 2 penalties in there. Like, it was just the flow didn't get going. But then I just thought it was a really hard-fought game, and like I said, I'm really happy with it, to be honest with you.
Seems like even without some of their bigger names of the guys that have been out, it's always this way.
We know how they're going to play it, and the game went exactly how we thought it would. I like that we stuck with what we were trying to do and didn't really get away from it. And there's things better. I mean, I love to score on the power play there at the end, but not letting that affect the rest of our game, which was pretty solid.
How did the year that Nason had in the AHL last year change the way he's come and played this year?
Well, I mean, I think he came up during the year and he was really good, but we just had, we didn't really have any injuries, and he had a great year down there, obviously. And I think his game suits suits what we need. If it's a good fit, and I think he's definitely earned his way into this league again. He was in it, and then he had to kind of, however you want to put it, but he definitely earned his way back to the NHL.
You using a fourth liner in that sort of net. I'm using a guy who's playing in the fourth line. That sort of net front reminds me of guys like Holmstrom and sort of. There's been guys like that over.
Well, he can score, and he's big body and he's great hand-eye. So that's kind of like you just said. It fits that position. I think it's a good fit for him.
Having not had a chance to have a shootout until now, how much of that is, okay, this is what my lineup's going to be, or who's going?
Well, we kind of have an idea, going in, and so, I think if somebody that's not a shooter was having a real hot night, I might, bum them out, but we kind of know who we're going to go with, I think there's a few other guys we could fit in there, but I think that's kind of our rotation.
What was it that made Burns a new guy that put him on your list?
Well, you saw it. That's what it was.
You ever seen anybody shoot a shot slower than that?
No, that's so tough. On the goalie. You got to have. I give him credit because it looks easy to do, but you got to have a lot of, courage to just come in that slow and do all that stick handling on bad ice because you could easily throw it in the corner. And it's tough on the goalie.
That's a tough game overall for Freddie. Just kind of the flow of it.
Yeah.
You guys having possession a lot.
Yeah, but that's when we're doing it right. That's kind of how the game is, and I think there was a couple in the third there. I know we kind of came in and had that backhander, and it was a couple big saves, really a couple big blocks too. I think they had an empty net, and Slavo got in front of it. There wasn't a lot of chances, but they were. When they get them, they get them.
We could ask you this after every game at this point, but the way Marty's going, is he at a point where you just kind of want to let him cook and not get too involved?
Yeah, definitely. You kind of do that with all the guys, really. You just, it's always, unless the effort comes off, you have to just let them go, and then, you teach them a little bit here and there, but it's effort is number one. If that's there, you're going to live with the mistakes here and there.
I know it's just 9 games, but the way that he's been playing, you have to be happy to have seen that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. It's not surprising. You've seen it in spurts, all for how many years now. But it's always about the consistency. That's what it is about being a pro, and I think he's definitely figuring that out.
Thanks, Rod.
Okay, guys.
We broke the streak of 6 straight diving penalties.
Yeah, so obviously Rod had a lot to say, after the game, and we won't get into all of that, but again, talking about Stefan Noesen, what we've been saying a lot in this episode of how he's earned his way, and I think he's in for a big season this year. I do, and with the game, going the way it went, again, like Rod said, kind of how you expected it to go, and you always expect that with the Capitals. And crazy thing to think is the next time we see the Capitals in Raleigh, it'll be at the Stadium Series game in February. It'll be here before we know it, folks. I'm really looking forward to it. That is for darn sure. I cannot wait. It is going to be so fun. But in the meantime, make sure you're following the show on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes. Myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow after we hear from the Hurricanes post practice. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Let's go, Canes.